So this is one of my favorite classes, negotiation. This is one of the areas that most investors, especially new investors, are very, very poor. When we start out, we like to analyze numbers, and it's fun to go look at properties and all these things. And what's really tough is this whole conversation of connecting with people and trying to help solve their problems. And I'll tell you a quick story about why I'm so passionate about this subject, why I've taken a lot of classes, traveled all over the country to different seminars about better communicating, becoming a better negotiator. When I first started this business, I was buying VA foreclosures back when you could get decent deals, and I was buying marginal deals, thinking they were good deals. And I realized there was this whole game of real estate being played that I knew nothing about. And so I set out to determine and learn how to play this game that everyone else, or these other people at SRIA and different places were playing. And so I went to a couple of seminars like this, wholesaling, some how-to seminars, and learned enough to be dangerous enough to go out there and start doing some marketing and taking some action and getting some leads. So the first good lead I got was from a lady. She was about 80. She owned a house on the north central side, nice house. I don't remember exactly what it was worth, but it was about a 10-year-old house, pretty new. Needed a little bit of updating, needed some work, but it wasn't in horrible condition. And she was going into foreclosure. And I ran my numbers, and the best thing that I could do for her, she had a bunch of equity, and she was going to get $15,000 back. Now, to get anything, any cash back in this market in a pre-foreclosure situation is rare. To get that much is very rare. And so I started talking to her, and I found out the reason she had so much equity was because she put a big chunk of money down on the property. She only owned it a couple of years, that she got as an insurance settlement when 2 of her 3 kids got killed in a car wreck. And so for her, this money meant a lot more than just a down payment on this house, right? And the fact that she had put down, I think, like 60 grand, and I was only going to be able to return 15 of it, it just didn't sit well with her and didn't work for her. And so I talked to her several times. I was a horrible communicator, a horrible negotiator, and ultimately she decided not to sell me the house because that wasn't good enough. She deserved better. And so 3 days later, the house got foreclosed on. She got nothing. And so what that told me was, I have a responsibility here to do better than I'm doing right now. I've got a responsibility, if I'm really in this to help people, to be better at helping people. Because it was my fault that I failed to communicate to her why this was her best option. It was my fault that I failed to negotiate with her to show her that she should do this. And it ultimately cost her $15,000. Instead of being able to move on her terms with a chunk of cash, she got kicked out of the house by the cops and got nothing. So that's really, this is a class that I get a little passionate about. And that's the reason why, because I feel like it's that important. If we're going to go out there and help people, we ought to be good at it, okay? So hopefully we're going to motivate you to become a good negotiator. That's what motivated me to become a good negotiator. We're going to teach you the basics in communication skills. We're going to teach you the basics, the principles of negotiation. Then we're going to give you some practical negotiating techniques that you as a real estate investor can use on your next deal. And we'll provide some examples. Again, this subject matter is for educational purposes only. You should always have any documents and any deals that you do reviewed by an attorney before you complete a transaction. So what is negotiation? It's the interaction of influences that includes the process of resolving disputes, agreeing upon courses of action, bargaining for individual or collective advantage, or crafting outcomes to satisfy various interests. This is the Webster's textbook definition. I'll disagree with this in one little part. I don't think that it's the bargaining for individual advantage. I think that's what most of us think it is, but I don't think that's where the money's to be made. I don't think that's where the deals are to be made, and I'm certain that's not where we go to help people. Okay? If you can't create a solution that satisfies your needs and the seller's needs completely, then that deal should not be done, in my opinion. If the seller was able to give up something